You for joining us. We got a bunch of people on Zoom, it looks like. Just kind of what I expected. There's like, super wet out there. Thank you for braving the weather for being here if you're here in person. Um, so let me tell you a little bit about what the panel is and what the purpose behind it is. So my name is Neil Chatterbeatty. I'm a professor in the political science department. Also the director for the Vagelin Endowed Chair here. If you don't know about that part of campus, its purpose is to advance social justice and our understanding of multiculturalism and of just all of us here. Michi and Walter Vagelin donated a bunch of money. Michi was a survivor of the Japanese internment during World War II, and Walter was a survivor of the Holocaust. And so they really wanted to make sure that we don't repeat history, which I know, given the current circumstances, is a bit troubling. So our goal here is traditionally programming, we bring a lot of speakers to campus. But one of the things I wanted to do this year was to make sure that our student programming was a little stronger to help you all prepare for careers once you're out of here. And so to that end, we have a panel of speakers online, as well as here in person, who are ready to give you a bit of an inside scoop on some careers you may not have thought about or you are thinking about and don't quite know how to pursue that. So let me introduce the panelists, and then I'll start with the folks that are here in the room, and then I'll go to the panel online. So with us from the Neighborhood Legal Services of Los Angeles County is Gabby Higgins. Yeah, we should applaud. Yes, of course. Braving the weather to be here with us. From Friends Outside of LA is Charles Biddle. And then online, I have Tracy Broadhead from the California Minority Counsel Program. Maria Sarmiento from the Mental Health Advocacy Services. Also a CPT for that. And Vidya Raghunathan from the Inner City Law Group. So what I've asked is each panelist to do maybe about a 5 to 8 minute introduction of who they are, their background, their organization, and what they think are some of the things that you need to know about pursuing a career with their group, how to get with them, and do the good work in the community that they do. That sounds about like what I asked you to prepare for. Okay, so with that, let me start. I'll start with Gabby, if that's okay.
Can I stand up here?
Sure, yeah, I think that's better so the camera can capture you better.
I'm Gabby Higgins. I've been an attorney with Neighborhood Legal Services for 9 years now. I still feel like a baby though. But I went to undergrad at Loyola Marymount, and there I studied business because I'm first generation, and my dad was like, you need to pick something that's practical, where you'll be guaranteed a job, and accounting will always have numbers and such. So anyways, I went with that, but then I took a general ed is such a blessing because it gets you exposed to a lot of different subjects. So I did take a women's studies course in undergrad, and that led me to my second major of women's studies, which led me down my career path. So definitely found an interest in issues that affect women, and in particular learned a lot about domestic violence. And that's where it signaled me, okay, what career can I find to help women who are in these situations? So then that led me to going to law school. So I went to law school at Chapman University because I grew up in Glendora, and I just wanted to have an easier commute, and law school is expensive. And so every dollar that you can save, definitely take advantage of that if that's something that you're hoping to pursue. Then in law school, you get exposures to different clinics, and you get to explore your interests a little bit more. And I knew, even though I'm speaking here, I'm actually a pretty shy person. I knew I didn't want to do representation. So what you see on TV, somebody showing up in a courtroom, I was like, shoot, what did I sign up for? This might not be for me. But that made me explore kind of what you guys are doing here. What's out there that doesn't require you to be in front of a judge and in a courtroom, but still make a difference. It's in the legal field. So I did a whole bunch of different internships and found my way to what's called the Self-Help Center. Had no clue what that was, but this is what I do. I work in the Self-Help Center now. So I'm straight out of law school. I I knew I wanted to work in a self-help center. So self-help center is in the courthouses, at least in LA County. It's where you walk in and it's like a clinic, and we call it, or the easiest example to explain is the emergency room, where we have to prioritize cases. So somebody might have a due date on their they have a trial coming up in their restraining order. They have a trial coming up in their divorce proceedings or paternity cases, so child custody issues. So if they have something quicker or an emergency, mom took away the child without giving them medication. So they might go in for an emergency hearing. So those ones we have to help right away, or the restraining orders we help right away. And then we help the other cases, people that want to open a divorce case. Might take, it's a longer process. So we work on their cases, but we get to help about definitely hundreds of people each month. And so every day I get to walk away feeling like I made a difference. And I had no idea that existed, or that there were these legal jobs where I am a professional and get to, I don't have to take work home once we close our doors. That's it. It's super nice. So legal aid, I think, because you are giving up, let's say, a higher income, they do give back to you in different ways. So you are something that's, as a student, was kind of troubling for me to figure out, was how am I going to pay for this? So a lot of working for public interest. Hopefully, if you guys do pursue at the time, that there will be public interest loan or service loan forgiveness. So that helps. But also there's a lot of programs that, because I work for a legal aid, I get to apply for special loans or grants that they give me to pay off my student loans. So honestly, I've been paying I'm almost at my 10 years on that, and hopefully I won't pay very much for my law degree, which is pretty cool, and giving back on that. But they are also, again, like I said, because legal aids give so much income back to you, they do take care of their employees more. I feel like we've had hybrid work schedule. They are family friendly because it's more of a community. You can tell your employer cares about you because the essence of our job is caring back to the community. So we help in our self-help centers, housing laws, people, so people who are facing eviction, we get those. I work in the Pomona specific courthouse. So you guys head to the courthouse there just to check it out. I'm on the 7th floor self-help center, but we help people from eviction cases so that they don't have homelessness prevention, right? So they have an ability to fight in court and not have to pay for a lawyer to get an understanding of how to do the whole process. But we help about like 5 people a day on those answers, which that's rewarding at the end of the day. And then again, the family law stuff and the restraining orders, that's the bulk of our work. Again, there's so many jobs out there that I didn't realize existed that didn't require you have to be in a courtroom. One last thing, Neighborhood Legal Services are expanding their services as well. So it's really cool. We have this partnership with a couple medical centers now in the Valley area. And so that somebody may be going in for medical help and then realize like, oh, but I'm about to lose my house too. So they've connected us with the legal partners or with us and other legal partners so that we can help them with their other issues. So you might not realize everyone around you might have some legal issue, but they don't have the money or resources. And that's why legal aids and specifically Neighborhood Legal Services is around to help. That's a little bit about that.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic, thank you. So part of this panel, we have attorneys. We also have non-attorneys as well. So Charles, would you like to share a non-attorney perspective as well?
Morning, everybody. Sorry about being late because of the weather and everything. But yes, to tell you about myself, my name is Charles Biddle. I'm the case manager for Friends Outside LA. To give you a little bit of backstory, because I actually have some history with Neil. So I'll start from the beginning. So when I first came to Cal Poly Pomona, I met my Dr. Renford Reese. He was working in political science. So meeting him, I identified as formerly incarcerated. So I was incarcerated as a juvenile up until a young adult. So when I met him, I actually didn't even know what Cal Poly was. I remember he sent me an email. He said, meet him for dinner at Cal Poly. And, he told me he had a program that was set up called the Reintegration Academy. This was aimed at helping people that were formerly incarcerated be exposed to a different atmosphere, a different environment, right? And I'm someone that had never been to a university in my life. I actually graduated at the top of my class in 2012 at the Reintegration Academy. And Dr. Reese asked me, was I serious about my education? I told him yes. So I worked to complete my undergrad here, graduating at the class of 2025 here at California as a business major. It was something that meant a lot to me because not just as far as my education, but my work experience. Over the course of 6 years, I served working here as the outreach coordinator for Project Rebound, the program that's set up to help people that are formerly incarcerated or system impacted. And between that time, I gained the experience of also teaching and co-facilitating inside state prisons for California. I did an introduction to college course, my course, because not only being a business major was important to me, but I wanted to help other people find careers, not just jobs. I was actually very fortunate, and I'm joined here by my wonderful supervisor, Jerome Holland. I landed a job as a case manager at Friends Outside LA. So with Friends Outside LA, we work to help people that are system impacted or formerly incarcerated, or even facing insecurities of substance abuse, vocational careers, not just jobs to get from point A to point B after incarceration. It's important because 95% of people that are incarcerated return right back to their same communities. 70% of them recidivize and they get locked up. One of the things I learned from my own lived experiences being incarcerated, the first thing you're thinking about is how am I going to support myself? How am I going to support my family? What am I going to do? We're Friends Outside LA, we're the people that's in the trenches doing the groundwork because we all have the lived experience and we know exactly how it is and we can relate to it. Our main job is getting our clients or getting our participants finding a vocational career or interest, something that interests them, that they want to pursue so they can transition into their own career. I say it's really important because it's not even if you've just been formerly incarcerated, if you're having substance abuse, we try and have methods that will help them. Two of the things that we do is a CBI, which is the Cognitive Behavioral Intervention course that we offer, which is our mental health support course. It's basically aimed at helping people not recidivize, not go back. Then we have a P2P, which is our parole to paycheck course. That's our job readiness course, preparing them for the workplace, how to present yourself professionally, how to carry yourself, what to say, what not to say. Because there's a lot of stigmas and a lot of habits that you pick up from doing time, or just really even getting used to how society has changed over that time. So we like to prepare our participants, our clients, for what they're going to expect in the workplace. I say all this is super important because I was given the opportunity to make a change in my own life, and it means so much to me. Oftentimes I sat there thinking about my past and why these certain things happened or why was I faced with these challenges. But I stayed the course, and I'm so thankful for that because it was all an experience that taught me to be the man that I am today, to be in a position to give people second chances, just like Dr. Reese gave me. I met a lot of people along the way, and I want to continue to make them proud. So that's a little bit about me. So thank you.
And now I'm going to go to our online panelists. I'll go in alphabetical order. So Tracy, would you like to go first?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Sorry I can't be there with you. I'm in Oakland, California. I am the current executive director of the California Minority Counsel Program. And what we do is we work with, or we have business attorneys across the state of California who are interested in getting business from corporations to support their practice and revenue streams, right? And so we make sure that those general counsel and those people who are the decision makers within corporations build relationships with minority attorneys across the state who can provide excellent service and build their own book of business. This organization has been around for 36 years. It was originally crafted as a business development organization, but kind of turned into a DEI organization as DEI was formed. So as the executive director, I do kind of jack of all trade things. And so I'll get into that in a little bit, but let me tell you kind of how I got here. So I'm originally from Oakland, born and raised. I went to UCLA for undergrad, and then I went to law school in San Francisco at the law school formerly known as Hastings. It's now called UCSF, law school, I believe. From there, I moved back to Los Angeles and worked in big law. So I was working in a large law firm doing entertainment litigation. It was a great, great firm. I had one partner in the firm. The firm was over 100 years old. There was one male partner who was a Black man, and there was one male partner who was Latino, and there was me out of, in this particular office, 70 attorneys. Um, I learned a tremendous amount about litigation, trying cases. I had great opportunities because of the mentorship. But for me, I didn't want to be a partner in a law firm. My priority really was becoming a mother, and I didn't see how I was going to balance those two things. I was married, and my husband was from New York, so we ended up moving to the East Coast after 5 years of practicing in Los Angeles. And I knew I didn't want to take another bar exam because each state has its own bar, and California has reciprocity with no other bar exams, no other states. So I would have had to take the bar exam in whatever state I was living in. But I also didn't want that life anymore. So I was interviewing for jobs in law firms because I just didn't know what my other options were. And a friend from law school called me and said, "Hey, I heard you on the East Coast. I work for a company called LexisNexis, which is a legal research platform. We're looking for somebody on the East Coast to teach legal research and writing in law schools." And I thought, well, that sounds fantastic. And so that's what I did. So I taught legal research and writing at 4 different law schools, at Penn Law, at Rutgers Camden, at Widener, which is a law school in Delaware, and Rutgers in Camden. And it was, and Villanova, like I guess more than 4. It was a great experience. I taught for 8 years, and working through LexisNexis as a LexisNexis kind of legal research advisor, if you will, teaching law students how to use this research platform that they would be using in practice, but also teaching them how to use it for themselves in the moment of how to kind of prepare for interviews, how to explore different areas of law that you might be interested in, how to use this platform to be successful in law school. So I really, really enjoyed that. And it wasn't traditional professor, right? Like that's a whole different path. This was an opportunity to use the relationship building skills that I felt were I have very strong skills with, use my law degree, and kind of introduce myself to academia so that if I decided that was something that was really interesting, then I could pursue that. Eventually, I decided to move back to California. I had 3 boys, and I wanted them raised in the village of the Bay Area. So we moved back to the Bay Area. And that was when Bloomberg called me. So Bloomberg Law was just starting to launch, and they had heard about my work in legal research and writing. And they themselves, Bloomberg did not have a legal research, or excuse me, a law school program. So they tapped me to build a brand new law school program to integrate Bloomberg Law into the curriculum of every law school. So what I'm saying is I went from being a lawyer in law firm, like a traditional practicing lawyer, to teaching, and then to kind of corporate, right? Like building, like where are these skill sets coming from? And that was kind of entrepreneurial skill sets, but all of that happened because I had that law degree, because I had that experience. So built the national program for Bloomberg Law to be integrated into every law school in the country. Took about 3 years to build that program, processes, systems, staff, had a remote staff, so we were home based, and this was in the early like 2012, I guess it is. Had about 40 attorneys working on the team around the country who were kind of similarly situated. Like they didn't want to be law firm attorneys. They weren't sure what their options were, but this was a really attractive offer. This was a really attractive option to them to teach and still kind of be in the legal field. Um, Bloomberg wanted me to move back east at some point. A new president came in, wanted their whole leadership team there. My children were just starting high school. That's the worst time to move your family. So instead, I left Bloomberg, and I didn't know what I was going to do. But I got a call from the school that my sons attend, and the head of that school had his finger on the pulse of the donor community because I donated to the school and I was an alum. And I ended up going to work for my old high school. So now, wait, what? Like you work for a law firm, you work for LexisNexis Teaching, you work for Bloomberg Law, and then you go back and work for your high school. Well, they had a capital campaign where they wanted to build a brand new building on campus. And the reason that I was the right person for the job is because, again, relationship skills. Like fundraising is literally just about building relationships. So it gave me this whole new skill set. I was the capital campaign director. We raised $40 million. We built this brand new center, and it was awesome. Kids graduated from high school, building was built, campaign was over, and then I had to decide to do what I was going to do next. And that's when I started thinking about the nonprofit world, because nonprofit work, as all of the people on this panel today will tell you, is mission work. It is heart work. It's where when you have a passion of something you are very passionate about, and you have a skill set that is valuable to that passion, that's where the magic starts to happen. So I first went to be the executive director of an organization called the One Love Foundation. And that's an organization that was building curriculum for college, high school, middle school, and elementary school young people to teach them about healthy relationships. It's awesome. If you ever interested, I don't work there anymore, but joinonelove.org is their website, and they have awesome materials. It's all free. It helps you learn the behaviors that are healthy relationships and the behaviors that are in unhealthy relationships, not just romantic, professional, school, family, all of the above. That was awesome, but that organization needed to downsize for a variety of reasons. And so I started looking around and I saw my old friend, California Minority Counsel Program. See, when I was practicing law in the very beginning of my career, I had helped CMCP plan many different conferences to, again, build the portfolios for minority attorneys throughout the state of California. And again, the common thread there is kind of the relationship building. Like at the end of the day, that's what it's really all about in terms of progressing your career. And if you find that that is a really strong skill set of yours, you will be able to leverage that in so many ways. So nonprofit work is fabulous. It is beautiful. It is wonderful. There is always a bigger mission than there is capacity. So we're always looking for more people who are passionate about our different missions to come and join us. So that's my story, my path. It is definitely a roller coaster. It was not planned out, but it all made sense in the end because an executive director is a person who needs to have both an understanding of the mission of the subject matter. So mine is law and minority attorneys in law. They need to have business skills. So I've worked in business, right? They need to have teaching skills to be able to make sure that all the programming that you're doing is relevant. So I learned that from my work with LexisNexis. And then fundraising is always going to be important. If you're not the fundraiser, at least you have an understanding of some basic fundraising skills. And I got that when I did the capital campaign work at the high school. So it didn't seem like it made sense at the time, but it makes perfect sense in hindsight for me. That's my story.
Thank you. Vidya, would you like to go next?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Vidya, and I actually grew up right down the street from Cal Poly Pomona and Diamond Bar. So I spent 15 years of my life living there, and actually took classes at Cal Poly Pomona. So nice to chat with folks from the school, and apologize also for not being able to be there in person. So my story, oddly enough, Tracy, we share quite a bit in common. I didn't realize that until today. I also started off at UCLA undergrad, started off at formerly Hastings College of the Law, but my heart was always in Southern California. San Francisco was too cold for me. I really wanted to be back in the sunshine, but also just where my community was, where my family was. So I came back, transferred to UCLA Law, and graduated in 2009. And when I graduated, there was a recession going on. So if you had a job in the legal field, you were really lucky. You held on to that job. My then boyfriend, now husband, very cleverly advised me on which firm I should try to get an offer with because they were doing really well financially. And they were like the only firm that laid off nobody during the recession. So I went to what was then the right place for me, and spent about 5 years there. And it was a great experience, to be in the private sector, at least for me. I think, being a first generation student in the US, and as somebody whose parents struggled financially, nobody in my family ever said, hey, go make the least amount of money possible. Like, go and be a starving artist. Like, those were not things, like, my parents did say, pursue your passion. They were like, you need to survive. And please don't keep asking us for money because we don't have much. So, while they didn't want me to do anything that I wasn't interested in, being successful and being able to take care of myself was the end goal. And so being at a private law firm was the way that I could do that. And it allowed me to survive, and it allowed me to be financially stable and independent. And from that law firm, I went to another law firm for a few years. And then about 10 years ago, I realized, I'd gotten some great experience. I'd been a trial lawyer. I had, gained an incredible amount of skills, and I learned from a lot of great people, but I really didn't want to do that work day to day. My heart just wasn't in it. I didn't feel like I was contributing to any sort of change. I didn't feel like I was making any sort of an impact. And luckily for me, I had always kept one foot in the door of nonprofit work. I had done a lot of volunteer work in high school and college. That was just something that was very close to my heart, to serving certain communities and individuals. And so I always sort of kept doing that on the side. I served on the board of nonprofit organizations in Southern California. I did a lot of voluntary legal work, what we call pro bono. And when it was around actually exactly 10 and a half years ago, I realized I wanted to make a move. This job opened up at Inner City Law Center that I didn't even realize was a job, which is called Director of Pro Bono. And literally what that means is you work with folks across the legal profession, and with schools and with retired, lawyers and everyone. And instead of asking them for money, you ask them for their time and their help, and you ask them to come on to volunteer their time and to serve your clients. So that's how I came onto Inner City Law Center, through that position. Our organization serves primarily individuals who are unhoused in Los Angeles and individuals who are at risk of losing their homes. So we focus on housing justice work. We're located in Skid Row, and I've been in this role at Inner City Law Center for almost 11 years. And the interesting thing is, as part of my role, I see a lot of folks across the legal profession. I see how they sort of came into the roles that they have. I do a lot of hiring at my office, including students, interns, postgraduate positions. And what I always tell folks about entering legal aid work, and nonprofit work is that it's not for those who are sort of wavering about whether that's work they want to do. And it's certainly not for those who have other priorities. And what I mean by that is, if you need financial stability, go get financial stability. If you need to get certain skills and to do, and to take on a job that will provide you the ability to get those skills, go get those skills. You can get to legal aid and nonprofit work in a different way. You don't have to do it from day one. You don't have to have a direct path there, and that's completely okay. I actually think it's great when folks have the sort of path that Tracy or I took. One, because you get to experience different jobs and different roles, but also because then when you come to do legal aid work, you're truly sort of ready for it. What I will say is, along that way, you should get relevant experience, right? You should do internships, you should volunteer your time, you should try to work with clients from vulnerable communities. You should know if it's legal aid work that you want to do. You should learn about the law along the way, right? You should get the written and oral advocacy skills on how to serve your clients. You might want to get jobs that allow you to be in a position of service to others. So I love it when I get resumes and I see students who have worked in the service industry, because guess what? You know how to deal with stress. You know how to deal with clients who are pissed off at you. You know how to work with competing priorities, and you have to figure out what you need to get done at that moment. Um, so get relevant experience along the way, and then you can get to nonprofit work and legal aid work. This is incredibly difficult work, right? You're dealing with clients who are going through trauma, who are struggling, especially now, and you don't want to be in a position where it's even harder on you. For example, don't do this for the money, because there's not a lot of it in there. You know, be secure, take care of yourself first so that you can help others and you have the time and the resources and the ability to help the communities around you. It is incredibly rewarding work. I will say, especially now when there are a lot of times when I think people can feel really unsure of what they can do, what they're supposed to do. And I think a lot of us probably on this panel feel like just going to work means we're already doing something. Every single day, we are doing something. We are helping somebody who needs an advocate, who needs somebody to stand behind them. And that's a really, really powerful thing. The last couple things I'll say is uh, I forgot who it was who said earlier, legal aid and nonprofit work offers a lot of benefits that other roles may not offer you. There's a lot of flexibility here. There's a lot of ways to have balance in your life. Like Tracy, when I was at law firms, I didn't see anybody who worked above me whose life I wanted to emulate. I didn't look at those people and go, oh, wow, I want that. I want what you have. I sort of looked at all of them and said, that's it. That's like, you're 60. That's all you got. And it wasn't anything personal. It just wasn't what I personally wanted. Whereas having been at Inner City Law Center, working with amazing folks in management, working with great members of my team has given me a whole lot of flexibility in my life. And actually to the point where now, the last couple of years, I haven't even lived in the US. I've actually moved abroad to support my spouse for a role that he's taking on. And I have an office that allowed me to do that. I don't know anybody else that would allow me to do that for this long. So I think really learn about what legal aid work is and what nonprofit work is. Learn about what it will require of you. Be prepared for it when you enter it. And then when you get there, really give it your all, because your clients need you, your colleagues need you, and your communities need you. And that's it.
Wonderful, thank you. And then our last panelist online, Maria, would you like to go next?
Hi, everyone. I'm Maria, and it's really nice to be back with the Cal Poly Pomona community. And just a quick heads up, I wrote down a few notes for this talk. Otherwise, my brain tends to go in about 1,000 different directions. So I studied philosophy at Cal Poly. Then I went on to complete a paralegal certificate at Pasadena City College and a master's degree in criminology, law, and society at UC Irvine. I've been working in the legal field since 2017. My first job was at an immigration nonprofit in Los Angeles during the first Trump administration. And from there, I worked at several private law firms that focused on criminal defense, appellate work, employment, consumer, and environmental law. Now I'm back in the nonprofit world with Mental Health Advocacy Services, where I work under the Medical Legal Community Partnership Project with Los Angeles County and a reentry advocacy project called Project Raft. Through this work, we help clients navigate legal and social issues that impact their health. and it's by far some of the most important work I've been a part of. But I'll be honest, it wasn't always like this for me. Some of you students, like some of you students, I took a non-linear path. I started at community college before transferring to Cal Poly. I'm a naturalized immigrant from Lima, Peru. I came to the US as a child, and English is my second language. When I first started college, I wasn't sure how to find my place in the legal world here, or even what that could look like for someone like me. But I always had this feeling that I'd end up in the legal field somehow. I've always, and maybe because both my parents are attorneys back in Peru. At Cal Poly, I joined Model UN, modeled OAS, and Ethics Bowl. I also did a judicial internship that gave me my first real glimpse into the legal system here in the US. After graduating, I started volunteering anywhere I could at places like Immigration Research Center, Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles, Freedom for Immigrants, Wage Justice Center, and the ACLU. Just trying to learn as much as possible. I hoped that through these different experiences, I'd eventually find a kind of work that felt right for me. And if you're wondering how I connected with these organizations, I literally Googled legal organizations in LA, wrote them down on a piece of paper, and started emailing them. I introduced myself, explained that I wanted to volunteer, and waited to see who replied. Eventually, I built a schedule around the organizations that got back to me. Now, I was living with family at the time, so I had the chance of being able to take unpaid volunteer work. And I know that's not always possible for everyone, but even small steps, reaching out, shadowing, or volunteering a few hours a week can make a difference in figuring out what speaks to you. Over time, those early experiences started opening doors. I began getting more hands-on experience, first through short-term projects and then more stable paralegal jobs. Each step helped me learn just not what kind of law I was interested in, but what kind of problems I cared about. I cared about helping people solve. And in many ways, that's what I do now at Mental Health Advocacy Services. We help remove social barriers that shouldn't be there in the first place. So my best advice for anyone interested in a legal career is don't be afraid to explore. Give yourself permission to take your time. Try things, see what kind of law or work resonates with you. And don't worry if you don't have it all figured out yet. If you're thinking about law school, remember, again, give yourself permission to take your time. It's okay to grow into your goals. Some of the most thoughtful and most collaborative attorneys I've worked with started out in non-attorney roles as paralegals, legal advocates, or community workers before ever applying to law school. Now I'm planning on taking the LSAT again next year, but I can honestly say that my years as my years of paralegal and advocacy work have taught me so much about how the law actually works, its power, its limits, and its potential to be used for good. And I'll end with a short reflection on what this work has taught me. Doing advocacy and legal work can be challenging, especially in times like these. Every week, I staff a legal clinic at a community health center in a city with a large immigrant population. Lately, we've seen fewer patients coming in, and we all know that when people avoid healthcare, their health suffers. What that's shown me is that the law isn't neutral. It can be used to harm, or it can be used to heal. The work we do, the way we choose to engage with the law matters. And that's what makes this field and your potential place in it as students so important. Thank you so much.
So we have some time for Q&A. If folks online want to put it in the chat, but I'll look to the folks here first. Anybody have any questions for our panelists? Go ahead, Trey.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to make a comment. Actually, should I come in the front? Or...
Yeah, sure.
Oh,
Yeah,
sure.
be great.
I didn't have a question. I actually just wanted to make a comment and also say thank you to Tracy. I believe you said it first. You said the work that we do just as a whole is mission work. You have to love what you do. And I just want to say I really resonated with that and I really appreciated it because I was actually able to just relate to how you said that because I looked at it from my own personal lived experience. It definitely is mission work and you have to love the work that you do. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Questions? Yeah,
Just stand.
yeah, you can just stand, the mics will pick you up.
Hello. Thank you all so much for speaking. It's been really insightful hearing what all of you have had to say about your careers. So I just had one broad question for whoever wants to chime in. What would you say is the most fulfilling aspect of the jobs that you all do? Like what drives you to keep going when things get hard?
I'll say for me, it's seeing people grow and win. So I, my work is in the civil part of the law. It's not on the criminal side. It's not, it's in business law, really. And so, civil litigation for the most part, when you're in business litigation, is just people fighting over money at the end of the day, is really what it boils down to. So there's not a lot of depth to it, but the little space that I have is seeing underrepresented minorities succeed in their own passions, in their own growth. And so when I see relationships build, when I see, a Google or a Meta giving $100,000 worth of business to a minority-owned law firm, for me, that like drives me to just keep going. But also the current situation that we're in. I mean, I don't think there's any aspect of the law that's not impacted by it. Um, DEI there is a national charge to obliterate it. And it's from my lens shameful because diversity is the strength of this country. The different perspectives that are brought to solving problems and legal problems in particular. That's where you get excellence. That's where you get efficiency. So, for me, it's just like game on. That's kind of how I feel about it. Like, how are we going to keep winning and doing the work that we need to do? But my area again is very different from everybody else's that's here. So maybe you want to hear from other folks as well.
Yeah, it's not Charles.
I can go.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, totally fine. Did you want to go first?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think a lot of us in legal aid can at times feel a bit discouraged, not just from, what's happening politically, but, just through our own work and their own stressors, personal and work-wise. I think that, just doing client-centered work can be very fulfilling, collectively. And at Mental Health Advocacy Services and, and so many other different legal aid orgs, we help so many people. And I think that cumulatively, that kind of like, tends to make a difference. And I think about that whenever I, feel discouraged, that, we are doing good work, and we are helping a lot of people.
To answer your question, for me and from my perspective, I'll say the most fulfilling thing for me is the sense of purpose that I get because it started with advocacy for myself with Dr. Reese, my mentor. He was just one person for whatever his reasons were, saying that like he saw something in me that I didn't see it myself 14 years ago. And I sit back and think about it now. I'm in a place to see that same sense of advocacy for other people, to want to help other people. And even if I just have one person like tell me, oh, I was successful, you helped me, you did this, that motivates me to keep on going. Because to be very honest with you, growing up, I was always somebody that felt like I needed a sense of direction in life. And to be like to where I'm at in life now, with responsibilities and things that I have to do in life, it feels so good to be like, I can help somebody else that was in the same situation or had the same circumstance as myself. Just to be that tool, because there's no telling like what, what future they'll have in 5, 10, 15 years. And to sit back and think like I played even a little role in that, like it motivates me and keeps me going. Thank you. If I can chime in with that, thank you.
Can you also introduce yourself?
Hi, y'all. I'm got here a little late. My name is Kenny Butler. As you can see, I'm also volunteer for PEP. And what this young man here just shared is true for me. He impacted me. So 4 years ago, I was released from prison after doing 15 years. I was originally sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, but I found my way through the law. I learned the law myself. I'm a self-representative person, had to and my claim to fame is I put forth a legal argument against Kamala Harris. I still voted for her after all that, but I was able to learn the law myself with only having a GED. And upon my release, I actually started a college program inside of CRC, which is the BA pathway for, I'm getting mixed up. The BA pathway, the Inside Out program at Pitzer College. So I got my undergraduate at Pitzer College. And when I came home, this guy right here was the light that I saw. He showed me something. And now I'm here at Cal Poly as a graduate student, been on study abroad trip with this young man. And I think I do this work just to carry the torch that Dr. Reese said. I'm hoping to one day fill his shoes and be a director of some program somewhere to do this work. Because I'm passionate about it. And on another note, Charles, I just went back to Ventura County Juvenile Hall and they were asking about Charles. They saw me walk in. And so that's the spirit that keeps us going. The fact that we're having an impact on so many people. And it's just, it's just a valuable thing to have. And I'm lucky to be involved in it. So any questions you have for me, I'm happy to answer them. Thank you.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
Speak on what drives you every day. We talk about these limitations, whether it's money or politics or whatever it may be. Yeah, that may bring you down, but what in the end, not that you have to work, but you're gonna have to choose a job at some point, right? In order to sustain yourself. But why not pick a job that you are excited about, right? You can't sit at a desk and be boring or be bored in your own role and watch the clock pass just to get that paycheck. Or you could do a job that you truly feel like you are making a difference in somebody's life. And that is possible. There are lots of jobs, right? We're just a very small panel of these big organizations that we represent and legal aids or nonprofits that are out there. So I just think of that feeling you get when you open the door for somebody that's running to the door. It feels good, right? Or you help somebody with their groceries. It feels good. Imagine that times 10. I feel like that's what drives us to come to our jobs on a daily basis, despite the rain pouring or we lost money or anything like that. We, as working in nonprofits, we truly care about the people that we're helping, and we get paid in this way of feeling good about ourselves on a daily basis. Yeah.
I love that. Really great.
Vidya, did you want to add anything or other questions? No, okay. Yes.
So I'm a GEMS major, which is a gender ethnic multicultural studies. I'm a big nonprofit person. I've been working in nonprofits since I was probably like 6. Like just going around different ones. Now that I'm kind of ending here at my store here at Cal Poly for this chapter and moving on, I think my big thing is I'm kind of stuck in my head about like, how do I apply? Where do I look? How do I find those things? You guys have any pieces of advice?
I can take this one. So I think the first thing, because you have had so much exposure to nonprofit work, I would first sit and think about, is there a particular type of work or area or community that specifically resonates with you that you want to work in, right? So think about, do you want to work sort of in mental health? Do you want to work in healthcare? Do you want to work with the law? Do you want to work in housing? Really think about where you might feel like you want to fit in. And I would say a good secondary question is this, are you sort of looking for like a temporary next step while you're maybe considering grad school and something beyond that? Or are you sort of looking to work for the next couple of years and then you'll sort of figure it out later? Because I think that second question will guide some of the options open to you, right? Because there are certain positions and opportunities that are going to be open to somebody, you know, with your skill set, the degree that you currently have, and your, you know, level of expertise. But there might be other roles that won't open up to you just yet because you may have to go get additional certifications or get additional degrees before you can really do um, very like specialized work, right? So like you may need a paralegal certification and go through a program. You may need a law degree to do certain types of work. You may want a, you know, a master's in public policy if there's certain things you're interested in. So I would say think first about areas, clients, communities that you want to serve, and then what is it that you're looking for? Are you looking for something to fill your next year while you take the LSAT and you wait to go to law school, or are you looking for the job you're going to have for the next couple of years before you figure out, you know, what you're going to do beyond that? And then I think do that thinking first, make some of those decisions, and then start narrowing it down to, hey, these are organizations that I may want to apply for. These are roles that seem like they fit the time frame that I want to work for, and the amount of time I have to give, or the communities that I want to work with, and the topics that I want to be involved in.
I'm going to pick up exactly where you just left off because I think that is awesome advice. I think it's once you get that kind of dream situation of where you would want to work, I've got two things I want to make sure you are doing. Number one, make sure you have a LinkedIn profile, right? Because LinkedIn is probably you're going to be one of your best friends for like all the other social media is what it is. But that's your professional social media. That is where you're going to see all the different people. But beyond LinkedIn, you're going to, once you identify those places that are kind of like where you would love to work, and don't like limit yourself, like shoot for the moon. If you decide you want to work, I don't know what your dream job would be, but whatever that is, a national organization that does the work that you studied in undergrad, whatever it is, make that list of who you want to target. And then my second piece of advice is informational interviews. You want to craft a very short introduction of yourself. Hi, my name is, I went to, the experience I have is, what I'm thinking about doing is this. I'd love it if I could have 10 or 15 minutes to meet with you, Zoom with you, just to understand your journey and get any advice. There is not a person over the age of 40 years old who does not want to tell you about themselves, right? And what their path has been. You can learn so much just listening to other people's journeys, and then they can kind of hone in what we're doing as a group in a one-on-one. What that is ultimately doing is what I talked about earlier. It's building a relationship with a decision maker at an organization that you potentially want to work at. So whether you are, you know, just simply, I don't know, taking out the garbage, right? Like getting coffee, volunteering to build relationships is something that's super important. Now, most of us need a little bit of paycheck, so maybe that's just a morning a week, like one for a couple hours a week. But building relationships before you get into law school that are going to help you in navigating what you want to do and where you want to go in your career, I think is a really, really important thing to do. Do that through exactly what you just described, kind of crafting that wish list of where you'd love to work, making sure you have a strong LinkedIn profile because people will look at your social media, and professionally, they will look at your LinkedIn. I have actually not hired people based on some of the social media posts that they have because they were not appropriate for the work that we do. So just know that part. But and then get that, don't be afraid to reach out to anybody to say, I'd just love an informational interview. I'd love to hear your story and see if you have any advice for me. And people will typically find, 15 minutes for that.
I love that
And
advice.
the one thing I would add to that really quickly is I think the great thing about informational interviews is that you get to find out what a job actually entails. And I think a lot of people, even who have been in their careers for 10, 15 years, apply for jobs because of the title. Like they want to be judge, they want to be a partner, they want to be all these things that sound super great and super fancy. But, if somebody asked me, what did being a lawyer, what did that actually entail the first 5 years? I would say it entailed me doing a lot of research by myself at my desk. And once in a while, when I was in trial, I would bring my travel blanket and sleep under my desk for a couple hours at night. And me chatting with my receptionist, my secretary a lot. Like that is what most of my job was my first 5 years. So don't go beyond the title, go beyond whatever they say it is, because it's usually something they put into AI and there's like a bunch of fancy words that don't really mean anything. And ask people, when you sit down at your desk each day, what do you do? Like, do you talk to people? Do you come up with project ideas? Do you have conference calls? Do you write things? Like, ask them what it is they actually do and see if those are things you like and want to do.
I want to piggyback on what's been said already. Definitely, I encourage like you all to make a LinkedIn profile if you don't have one already. Also, Indeed, I know it's a great platform to look and apply to jobs. And I also want to say that, in my experience, fear has been one of the biggest obstacles for actually getting the job you want or even attempting to apply to it. People do want to help. People do want to actually like lift people up. That's been my experience. Another great thing that I've had in my sort of path has been having mentors. So for a time, I worked for three former federal public defenders. I consider all three my mentors. Sometimes we'll get dinners, even today, right? Yeah, have mentors. They can definitely be, extremely helpful. And yeah, people are willing to and happy to reach out, reach back out. So.
Try to make this really quick. We're ending time here. But my advice is looking for a job in general, no matter what field it is. You have to remember, yeah, you're at an interview, but you also have the right to interview the person that you're interviewing to make sure it's the right fit. I had a job, I did it for a day or two, and I was like, why am I here? Like, I got the job, I started it. If I asked more questions, I would have figured out that wasn't the job for me. Just yeah, you want to get a paycheck, you want to get your job, and you want to get your life rolling. But also, there's going to be new job postings every day. So you don't have to get that first job and accept that offer right away, because this is where you're going to spend every day at. So, and then my other thing is network, ask questions, talk to people. Are you going to miss an opportunity because you were maybe too shy or too embarrassed? You're going to spend more time thinking about, oh, I wish I just gave them my name or told them what my background was or something like that. So don't be afraid. Who cares who's watching you? Ask somebody a question. Yeah.
So I'll give a peek behind the curtain a little bit about how this panel came together, just to demonstrate how kind people are in this space. I didn't know most of the people that are on this panel. I cold emailed these organizations asking if they'd be willing to do this for you all. And everybody that's here jumped at the opportunity. So that kind of gives you a sense of who you're working with. There are folks that want you to do this work and want to help you get into this space. So yeah, I echoing everything that the panelists said. There's just a lot of great people that are working in this space. There is if folks need to go, that's okay. But I wanted to just address this question in the chat here. Are there any potential jobs at a bachelor's degree in general sociology out there? I know there are folks online in here from different disciplines, political science majors, philosophy majors. And I think this is a question that, sorry, I'm not on camera. This is a question that a lot of our students have. because they get these differing pieces of advice on, I'm a GEMS major, what careers does that lead to? Did I pigeonhole myself? And we try to push away from that, but as a first generation student, it's often difficult to figure out whether you made a mistake here. So if folks could briefly chime in on what the meaning of a bachelor's degree and the discipline specific choice that folks have made, what that means to career paths.
I have some things to say here. So just to answer this question in the chat, my wife studied sociology at Wesleyan, and they've held several roles since then. They're now working in health equity at UCLA Health. But really with a bachelor's in, sociology, there's so much you can do. I know they were a political consultant at some point after graduating. This was in like the 2010s. But yeah, I mean, really the possibilities are endless in my opinion. And I tend to be a pretty optimistic person. But yeah, you can do, I mean, there's so much you can do. I think it's a pretty versatile degree.
So I would say in response to that question, for me, I'm a business major and my emphasis was specifically in human resources and operations management because I wanted to continue to serve people. So with my career now being a case manager outside LA, I would say not only the degree wasn't the only component that was needed, it was also the lived experience, right? And my experience with networking and, coming from where I came from, I would say that played a very pivotal role in my selection for my job. But I would definitely say someone said it earlier about the networking component of it. You can have all the degrees that you want, right? But when you have the networking and the experience to go along with it, that plays a really important role. And just the last thing I want to add on is something that my mentor always says, right? Dr. Reese, he says, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. So just keep that in mind, especially when it comes to like your experience and your networking, okay? Because your network is your network. So.
I think the beauty of a lot of degrees like sociology, I majored in political science and psychology. And I always used to joke that like nobody's like a political scientist. Like that's not, it's like a transitionary degree. It's a degree where you can gain a lot of knowledge and skills and figure out, a whole lot of things that are open to you after. So I would encourage you sometimes to work backwards. Think about if there's like an end goal you want to have, or a position or again, also like an area you want to be in, and then see, okay, what's the degree required for that? And then how does sociology feed into that? And I know, doctors who were sociology majors as undergrads, because all they needed to do to get into med school was to take the MCAT. It didn't, and yeah, they had to do a bunch of science and math courses while they were a sociology major, but that, I've known doctors who were history majors. I've known lawyers who, majored in French. So I don't think the beauty of it is that your major is not a limitation in any way, unless you're looking to be like an engineer as soon as you graduate, unless you're looking for like a very specialized job in which you had to have prepared for that as part of your undergraduate education. So I would also say, yeah, work backwards, see if you want to be a lawyer someday, the beauty of law school is you can do anything you want before law school. You just need to take the LSAT and that's it. And you just need to have done relatively well in undergrad, in whatever you chose to do, but you can choose whatever you wanted to do.
And these organizations, think of them as businesses too. Not everybody in a business. So look at Macy's, not everybody's a salesperson. There's the whole crew of people that make the business operate. So think of that too. There are a ton of other jobs that aren't an attorney, even though you may be working at a law firm. I would not be able to do my work without all the support staff, without people that are making even HR, right? Payroll, making everybody's jobs move forward. So just if there's an organization you like, look at what other roles there are. I have lots of friends who just who have their bachelor's and want to explore. Right, master's degrees are time and money. So make sure you want to get that master's degree or get that law degree. So take the time to figure that out. So it's okay to find a job without those degrees, so that you could explore if that's what you want to invest in. But again, there are organizations. So even like the courthouse, there's within the courthouse, it's not all attorneys. There's judicial assistants. The requirement is a bachelor's degree. So there are jobs out there. You just gotta explore your options.
I just saw a question in the chat about, how can seniors get advance your career or get your foot in the door. It's okay. You're in your last year. I get it. You're a little worried because you're thinking I have to graduate and what am I going to do right after? I would start, interning or externing somewhere. Find an opportunity for next semester. I would also really utilize your professors. I think this is something I never did in undergrad, and I regret it because I did it so much better in law school. I did not take advantage of the connections my professors had. I did not take advantage of their office hours in the same way. Your professors are connected people. They know people. They know people at jobs. They know people at internship sites. And if they know that you're interested and you want to get certain types of experience under your belt, they will help you. I had a professor in law school that even after I graduated law school, I had some time, and he connected me with an international human rights court and got me an internship for 3 months. There's no way I would have gotten that if I just didn't go and talk to him and say, hey, I need something to put on my resume. So I would go talk to your professors. I would apply even to some of the organizations you are seeing and hearing about today, and go start next semester, right? This semester is mostly done. You need to focus on finals, but go get an internship for next semester, get an internship for after you graduate. I would say maybe also do something, that's going to bring in like an income if you need it. So have something paying on the side, but maybe spend a day or two doing some sort of internship that can supplement that. And then use that time to sort of figure out what your next step is going to be.
So Tracy Broadhead had to leave, but she did ask me to share, if you all are interested in connecting with her, please reach out to her on LinkedIn. She also asked, if you want to contact her by email, she's happy to help out. Since I have you all in the room, and feel free to say that this isn't possible with your organization. That's okay. If students were interested in working with your organizations, are there internships available? What path would they go down to work with you if they wanted to do that?
So with Neighborhood Legal Services, I don't know if you're local to this area, but they connect you with a lot of opportunities. So if you go to nlsla.org, there's a volunteers tab, and you fill out a profile there of what kind of work you're looking into in what area, and then they'll connect you. So a lot of people start off at the self-help center where I'm at. It's a really great volunteer opportunity. We have some Cal Poly students right now as well. So you will walk away learning a lot, actually. I was going to say something, but you will learn a lot. So it's really great volunteer opportunities. We have opportunities throughout the San Fernando Valley, but here closest is really down the street at the Pomona Courthouse. But nlsla.org, lots of opportunities. Great on your resume.
Thank you. Books online, Maria shared in the chat. Can you all see that in the room?
Not really, not particularly.
Maria, can you maybe speak about it real quick?
Sure, absolutely. So, yeah, MHAS or Mental Health Advocacy Services, we have volunteers. We accept both undergraduate students. We also accept law clerks. And, there is an interview process for law clerks. So if you're thinking about law school, that's something that you can apply for. And yeah, I provided the link. And just separately, Professor Chaturdevi, I wanted to say that, I was your student while I was at Cal Poly. I took California government, and we kept in touch. I added you on LinkedIn, and so I think this is like an example, right, of when you keep in touch with your professors, opportunities open up, and yeah, just keeping in touch with professors and mentors. I find profoundly important.
And just quickly for Inner City Law Center, we do take interns all the time, all year round. So if you visit innercitylaw.org, there's an internships page and you can check that out. I always tell students, proofread the things you send to us, spell our names correctly, and and please don't let AI write your resumes and cover letters. We always know when that happens. So just we get it. You're just starting off your careers. We don't expect the same resume, that somebody who's been in the profession for 20 years would have. But do your own work.
Any other questions for our panelists? Yeah. I'll go over here first. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I wanted to ask a little bit ago, the topic of certifications came up, like sort of getting certifications for different fields or jobs. I wanted to ask if you know of any specific certifications or types of certifications that are not exactly universal, but fairly widespread in their applicability when it comes to different jobs.
So this is not I mean, I think you can be formally certified to be like a translator for certain things, but I would say if you know a second language or a third language, that is incredibly helpful. So if you're conversational and you can get better and you can get certified, and again, I would have to look this up because I know we have certified translators. We have folks that, have had to like pass certain tests so that they can translate in court or translate for clients. But I think language is something that goes beyond any one profession. And it is like the single thing that I find that folks in the US lack compared to other places. But if you're in the position of having known a second language or having known a first language, and English was your second, get certified so that you can do it in a professional capacity and often for more money, especially if you're going to be like a formal translator.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that. I know that Santa Ana College offers a certification program for interpreters, legal interpreters. So that may, and it's lower cost, it's a reduced fee. I am pretty sure that UCLA Extension also offers an interpretation program. So yeah, definitely look into those. I don't know about UCI. But they exist. They absolutely exist.
Thank you.
Any other question?
Yes, so for these internships that have been brought up, is there anything, like any tips you could give about what sort of experience you're looking for, or anything that especially students who don't have as much experience can do that just gives them like an edge to help them like actually get into these internship programs?
I would say, I think a lot of employers are going to know, that a student who is just coming out of undergrad, especially if they're a younger student, like you haven't worked for 10 years. Like we're not expecting that. I would say list things that you think may not be relevant, but actually are. So, in your cover letter, for example, if you're applying to an organization that does housing work, and if you have experience within your own family of housing insecurity, if you feel comfortable sharing something like that, or if you've even just a couple weekends spent time volunteering at an organization that helped unhoused folks, and you thought, okay, well, it was just a limited thing. It was not a big deal. Let's put that down. That is something. It gave you a perspective. It gave you direct contact with clients, and that is important. We are an organization, we serve a lot of veterans. We serve a lot of unhoused veterans. And I can't tell you how many times people don't put in their profile that they're either a veteran or that they have a lot of veterans that they're connected with, like they have a personal connection to a community, which doesn't, again, you're thinking, well, that's just like your family or who your friends are, but it probably means you know the lingo a little bit better. You might know certain terminology that veterans use or that the military uses than anyone else out there. And that is something you're bringing to the job. List languages that you know. If you know unique programs, and I'm not talking about like Microsoft Word, but if you know things like Canva, or you know how to update websites, list those things because you may think, that's easy. And I learned how to do that many years ago, but it's still a skill. And I forgot who had said it before, but not everybody at a nonprofit is a lawyer or a paralegal. We have folks who do communications and their entire job is social media. We have folks who do administration. And their job is really, really, expansive in terms of the skill sets they have. So list things, even if you're not quite sure where they fit, because they might be really relevant. And also know, the audience, right? So like really read the postings of the internships or the jobs that you're applying for, and then think back, okay, what do I have that's relevant to that? And that's how you're going to stand out when you actually tailor your applications to that particular position and not just, hey, this is like the resume that everyone's going to get. So for example, if you're applying to a housing nonprofit and you've worked with an unhoused, or like a homeless shelter, that should be at the top. Like that should be the first thing I read. So you should tailor make your materials for your audience.
Another thing I want to say is, when you're ready to apply for volunteer experiences or internships, um, definitely list your lived experience if you feel comfortable, but also do thorough research on the organization where you'll be applying, because that's going to be, one of the first things they'll ask during the interview. And yeah, like do thorough research. Don't just apply to apply, but definitely do your due diligence and research the organization thoroughly.
Yeah, I think Abby mentioned it earlier, right? The interview is your opportunity to interview them as well to make sure it's the right fit. Yeah, I think that's all really good advice. We got about a couple more minutes, and again, if you all need to leave, we understand you all are busy people. Any other questions? I have one last one for the panel. If nobody else has a question in the chat. So looking back, I think the majority of the panel was first gen, if I'm remembering correctly. I'm a first gen student myself. I remember how hard it was not knowing what you don't know. I know it's hard to kind of reflect on this looking back. If you could get in a time machine, what would you tell your past self about things you didn't know that you wish you knew that would be helpful? I think we're all happy where we're at. We landed, we're on 2 feet, we're doing well, but what would have made our lives easier? What would have helped us if we just knew a piece of information? Charles, yeah.
For me, my advice is pretty simple because I like reiterated to myself every day, but not as much. It would have been to get out of your comfort zone and don't be afraid to ask questions. Oftentimes, for myself, just coming from my background before I initially got into education, I often felt like people couldn't relate to me or I couldn't relate to them because of my experiences were nothing like theirs. And I really had to get out of my comfort zone and ask for help. And until I found myself like needing help, that was the one like I guess that was the one thing that pushed me out of my comfort zone to be like having to explain my background and why I needed the assistance, seeing how kind people were instead of thinking that I was always going to be judged or, people would look at me a different type of way. When I finally realized that there were genuine people out there that cared, even if they didn't have the same lived experience as me, they were willing to give me a chance. I'll say that's what it was that opened the door. So it was my one piece of advice that I would give myself was it's okay to get out of your comfort zone and ask for help. Because doing that got me where I'm at today. So thank you.
I want to add something else to that. I think that a lot of us started out in very different places, some of us. And, we, I think we remember, what it was like to finish undergrad and, kind of like not know what's next or where, there was a lot of uncertainty. But and there was a lot of fear. But I think one way that helped me sort of like get over that fear was actually like action. Emailing people, going to different interviews, reading books, really getting into the literature of it, helped me, having conversations with people in the field already, again, having mentors. And little by little, I eventually found my path, my way. But I think that fear and uncertainty can be a big obstacle for many people. And there's a way to dispel that, and that's by action and getting yourself out there. And you're gonna make mistakes, but learning from those mistakes and having this is gonna sound really cheesy, but having a growth mentality can go a long way. So.
I would say two things. I think I would have started networking a lot earlier. I think I am really good at it now because it's my job. And when I say networking, I don't mean just going to events and like making small talk and seeing if somebody can be helpful to you. I mean like really forming relationships with folks and being able to walk into an event and connect with somebody or have a bunch of people you already know and feeling like pretty comfortable in most environments. And I would have started doing that in college. I would have started doing that when I was a lot younger, and realizing, yeah, everyone from your professors to your classmates can be helpful. And it's something I learned from my spouse because he's somebody who, he still keeps in touch with high school friends and they still follow each other's careers thanks to LinkedIn. And he does an incredible job of that. And we will literally go to random places and he will see somebody he knows from 80 years ago. And I wish I had that. I think the other thing is I would realize much earlier, to the extent I could, to be a bit more deliberate in the decisions that I was making. I think sometimes you can't be. I think sometimes you have to sort of leave it up to fate and leave it up to changes. But I think I would have liked to have been a bit more deliberate in some of the skills I got, and I would have thought like what would be more useful later, and I talk about language a lot because I see that popping up, and especially in legal aid it is a lot of times two people with the same skills. I will always choose the one with the additional language capacity. So I wish I'd been a bit more deliberate about things like that and gained some of those extra skills, not because they helped for one job or whatever, but just because I think they make you a more well-rounded person. And I wish I had just done some of those things, not with like a career in mind, but just because they can be helpful anywhere. Um, but yeah, hindsight is 2020.
And if I may, a lot of organizations actually provide like a bilingual stipend for people who speak multiple languages. So at my organization, I get paid a little more For speaking Spanish, I work with a lot of monolingual Spanish speakers, and so my organization, provides that extra financial support or pay compensation. So it definitely helps to list that, on your resume, and organizations will compensate you for that. Some will.
Panelist does too. So it's really important. We may hire somebody just because they have an extra language. I even have one of my colleagues, and she was having trouble finding a job and went out to learn Spanish to get the job. So it is super important for a lot of these nonprofits in Southern California, specifically LA. But my advice was the networking. I wish I networked earlier, just kind of understood that. I have kind of this weird quality of remembering people's names, and so I always make it awkward, like, hey, I met you last time, and they're like, I don't remember, I'm sorry. But I owned it. Like, that was kind of my thing. Like, we were at, like, I met you at that last networking event, kind of thing, and just remembering little facts and maybe keeping notes in your phone of like, okay, lady with the red hair sat in the corner at this event, something like that, because then you start seeing them again when you have a common interest at a lot of these events. So and then the other advice, that as a first generation, I don't know, I'm sure a lot of culturally you feel this pressure of pleasing your parents, of doing something like they came here and sacrificed so much that you have to continue that and do something with it. And so you get this pressure of it. Honestly, I don't think my dad even knows what job I do right now. He doesn't understand it because, like I said, he wanted me to go into business because what he knew was accounting and that was going to be stable. But in the end, I'm the one sitting at the desk. I'm the one showing up to work every day. Why shouldn't I be the one to decide what I'm going to be doing on a day-to-day basis? So don't be afraid to, I don't want to say let your family down. You're not going to let them down. Be bold to pursue what you want to pursue.
If I have any bit of advice, it would be what they said about networking. And find your tribe. Find people who do the work that you like to do. It will be an amazing difference. And don't allow yourself to be pigeonholed or stuck in a space, because you can be the smartest person in the world, but if you don't get in the space where your talent is going to be valued, then you're doing yourself a disservice. I found myself doing this work, not even being able to talk in front of a crowd without sweating. Charles knows this very well. But I expanded my network, where I ended up in Denmark and became the program coordinator for the prison education project in Denmark. And that's because I knew somebody at Temple University, from being around these spaces with like-minded people who value my lived experience of being incarcerated and being in higher education. And so just get around your tribe. Not everybody is going to be interested in who you are and what you do, but if you find your tribe, you'll be great at it. Thank you.
So we're just about out of time. Folks, if you could join me in just thanking our panelists, both here and online, for doing this. We'll probably be sending a lot of people your way that need advice, that want to work with you. And I think that's a good thing. So again, thank you all for doing this. We're going to do another one of these in November. So okay, I'm on camera. So if you all are still kind of figuring this out, maybe law isn't quite what I want to do, but I definitely want to be in the nonprofit space. We're going to have folks that are from other nonprofits come do a similar presentation and Q&A. So if you all want to be there for that, that's going to be on November 4th. I'll send out details and we'll post it on social media. Make sure it goes out to you all and other faculty. But again, thank you all for being here. I hope this was helpful and helped illuminate some career paths for you. And yes, if folks have questions, please reach out to our panelists that have made themselves available to you. But again, thank you all for being here. We really appreciate it.